And we're back with the Power Hour at Miami Community Newspapers. Bob Powers is out. Unfortunately, he is ill today. We wish him the best, but the show must go on. And we have a very special session this afternoon. We have a round robin of the candidates for District 5 Commissioner in the city of Miami. This is an extremely important race. The city of Miami only has 5 commissioners, and they are the men and women that are responsible for how our city is going to look, how it's going to develop, in terms of how the police is funded and fighting crime, dealing with our parks and streets and so forth. It's a pretty important gig, even though it's the lowest level of local government. As our viewership knows, I personally ran for city commissioner 2 years ago, so I have the utmost respect for anyone that runs because it is a tough gig. And my next guest has actually been running for how many months now? Over a year and a half, right?
Yeah, about that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There was potentially going to be an election before when Commissioner Hardiman ran for the county. They decided instead to have an appointment, which was my previous guest, current Commissioner Jeffrey Watson. But Christine King has been running since the original election that was supposed to happen, and now is running to have the people say, we want her in there for the next 4 years. She's someone that has been out there in the community, very involved in the nonprofit world, in delivering for the people of the district. So besides the doors, pretty well known because of that. So I'm glad to have her here and ask her a few of the questions on the most pressing topics. But first off, tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe some of the stuff I missed in terms of your trajectory and past.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me. I was born in Guyana, but my parents immigrated to the U.S. when I was a child. I've been educated here in Miami. I went to Alapata Elementary School, and I worked for Miami-Dade County for 15 years prior to becoming an attorney. And once I became an attorney, I left the city, hung a shingle at the MLK Business Center, where I am also the president and CEO of the Martin Luther King Economic Development Corporation. And my practice has been there now for over 10 years. And I've been the president and CEO for over 10 years with the Martin Luther King Economic Development Corporation, which is a nonprofit that serves families and businesses in the Liberty City community for over 40 years.
That's amazing. And I was doing some math in my head of your trajectory and your resume. And let me tell you, you look a lot younger than you are. So congratulations. You are blessed.
Thank you. Thank you.
So that's a great trajectory and a great way to get in touch with the community.
Absolutely.
But it's also a different path because when you go into being an elected official, it's a different type of public service. So why do that? And why not remain in the things that you're doing?
Well, it actually isn't. Public service is public service. And even through my practice, I have been serving the community. I've done a lot of pro bono work, and I've helped families in need. A lot of my practice surrounds landlord-tenant issues, and I've done a lot of landlord-tenant pro bono issues, helping out tenants who are not familiar with the law and can't afford to get an attorney. And I've also helped the community. For example, during the height of the pandemic, the Martin Luther King Economic Development Corporation, we have a commercial kitchen space.
Correct.
And I've turned that into a program to help local caterers or up-and-coming restaurateurs. And as you're aware, during the pandemic, caterers and restaurants were the most affected.
Absolutely.
Their businesses were the most affected.
All of the hospitality,
all
food
of the
service,
hospitality,
everything was
correct.
Really bad.
So we hired our participants to make hot, nutritious meals for our seniors. We fed 1,500 seniors hot meals every week from March through December. And that addressed the food insecurity for our seniors, as well as for some of our seniors who didn't have family. We checked in on them every week. So our caterers, our program participants were able to thrive, and we were able to serve the community as well.
And why do you feel you'll be able to do more of that or do that better as a commissioner?
Because I'm going to take a common sense approach to leadership, because I know what the issues are in our community, and I take a problem and fix it. So, for example, I've been going door to door. My campaign is a grassroots campaign, door to door. Every time I pass a trash pile, I text the city and say, here's a trash, pick it up. So I don't just leave things undone. If I come across an issue with a constituent, I take note of it and I send it to where it needs to go, or I make a mental note of it to address it once I become commissioner. Because we've worked with the city. I'd like to fix some inefficiencies with the permitting problem. We have zoning issues in our district. As you're aware,
Sure.
District 5 is the most diverse district in the city of Miami. And each community, each neighborhood has its own issues. Development, you know, we have an affordable housing crisis. The voters voted in 2017 for the affordable bond, $100 million. And my project, I'm a co-developer with Atlantic Pacific Communities, and we have tapped into the first of that money for an affordable housing project, which is over.
And was this a county bond or was
no,
it
it's a city
bond?
It's a city bond.
So you're talking about the Miami Forever bond issue.
Correct.
Correct.
So, but why aren't we able to expedite the spending of that money? And I have creative ways to bring that money to the community that I'd like to see happen. And those are the kinds of things that I would like to do.
So let's talk about that, because first of all, you hit on the white hot issue of the moment, affordable housing and housing affordability in general. And it's not just poor people, folks.
No, it's
Working
not.
people and middle class people in our county, state, and country cannot afford to live here anymore. Right now, there was a report that there was a 17% increase in the median rent in the city of Miami over the past 6 months. So people are seeing hundreds of dollars go up every month on their rent. That you just can't do that to people. You're not getting a raise for $100 every month,
right?
But then you have that, and that is the reality. We have a market right now where single family homes are not available even for buyers. So you have investors coming in from all over the United States because they see Miami as a good investment. Good for them, but they're raising the cost of everything else going on, right? So we have a situation that is dire now at the federal level. We have a very bad housing policy, which we've had for forever, which is the housing policy of keep driving till you can afford it. So people just keep going to Homestead and Naranja,
right,
or north to like past Southwood Ranches,
right,
exit 67. That's the only way they can afford something, right? And at the local level, we hear a lot of different things, but it's been hard to get it to execute. So Commissioner Carollo came in 4 years ago and said, I'm going to create a housing agency. It's not there. Commissioner Diaz de la Portilla came in 2 years ago and said he was going to focus on a housing ownership, and that hasn't really happened so far. Commissioner Russell, who I have great respect for, I work for him, has pushed some stuff through the CRA and through the bond, but as you're saying, the bond isn't really moving quite as fast as people need it for needing it now, as the mayor. And before that, a lot of the stuff that the prior commissioners did was through the CRA, probably the CRA being the most effective tool for actually delivering. But it always seems that people get there and they make these promises and then they get stuck. So why would you, or what can you tell us about your plans not to get stuck and make sure that your solutions work out for this affordable housing issue?
Well, what I'd like to do is push the administration. I was formerly a county employee, and I understand how we can get marred down in policy and we just don't move. Just get to it. Do it. Let's move it. I'd like to see home ownership for first-time home buyers. Exactly what you said. The housing market is unaffordable for families now. But why don't we take some of that bond money and place second mortgages on properties so that first-time home buyers can afford to be homeowners? That will help to mitigate gentrification in our communities. If the city goes and buys those vacant lots and then they build houses, hold a second mortgage, and this isn't something that I've created. I'm not making the wheel here. They're doing it in other cities.
Yeah, it's a financing scheme to make people be able to
make, even in Hollywood, they give you $50,000. Why can't we do it in the city of Miami? And we have all of that money and need. It's just unacceptable for us to sit and not do anything. And we have to work together. Part of my plans to be city commissioner is in hope that being a woman, I will bring some civility.
You got me on my next question, because you knew I was going to go there.
I will bring some civility to the City of Miami Commission, and that we can all work together, because what you just said, my future colleagues all want the same thing. So let's work together and make it happen. But let's get it done.
So let me put that question about civility in the best possible terms. why in the hell would you want to go work with these guys? I mean, they're yelling at each other all the time. They're calling each other names. Like it's hard, and some of them more than others. People who read the paper know who the commissioners are that tend to make a clown show out of it. But the reality is that 2-3 times in the past 2 years, city commission meetings have just stopped because it got derailed and the people's business just wasn't dealt with. So what can you do about it? And why do you want that gig to do that?
Listen, I am asked that question more often than you can imagine. I have a million reasons why I shouldn't run, but I have one reason why I am running, and that's because of the community. My love of community. This is where I live. This is my home, and I'm passionate about our community. So I'm going to set aside all of that other stuff. And again, I'm going to try to lead by example. We don't have to like each other to serve the community. And I think it's important now that we take politics out of service and we get back to the business of serving our community. And if we do that, our personalities shouldn't matter. I'm going to be a help for everyone to get the business of the city done. And that's my only goal. I want to serve the community, and I'm not interested in the stuff that has been happening.
Understood. I have a question that I'm going to ask you directly. I'm not going to ask the other candidates because this is based on the position that you're running for and the track that you're taking, right? So you've been supported directly and indirectly by the Hardiman family and other people in the community that are linked to essentially the years of services that they have had both at the city and county level. A lot of people love the Hardimans in this district. A lot of people not so much. How do you feel for people who ask you, like, are you being a continuation of that? And are you just going to bring back what they had? Is that what you're running for? Is that what you're running on? Or how do you handle that, answering that?
Absolutely not. First of all, let me say that today, Mayor Daniela Levine Cava endorsed me.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So, and irrespective of your feelings for County Commissioner Hardiman, we must acknowledge that he is the County Commissioner for District 5. All of District 5 is in County Commission District 3. I do have a relationship with our County Commissioner, which has not happened in over 2 decades.
Correct.
It has not happened in over 2 decades. That can only serve our community. We will be able to bring resources to our community faster because we won't have the issue of not getting along. But in terms of being an extension of, well, there are many people that feel like Commissioner Hardiman did an excellent job.
They are, absolutely.
In the city of Miami.
And I want to make that clear. There are people that feel that he did an excellent job. There's also people that feel he did a terrible job. And then there's like you're carrying
both.
that. Yeah,
I have met both because I have been campaigning, as you said, for some time, and my campaign is grassroots. I have knocked on doors. And I've met so many amazing people, and they've shared that. The compliment to my campaign is that we will have a relationship. So where I need assistance from Miami-Dade County, I have Commissioner Hardiman, I have the mayor supporting me. That's only a wonderful thing. That can only be a wonderful thing. But I am my own person and I have my own ideas. I know what I want to do, and I have been serving the community for over 10 years and being a part of the community.
Understood. Let me ask you this. You mentioned at the beginning, and this is absolutely true, that you have the most diverse district in the city of Miami, not just because you have Puerto Ricans, African Americans, Haitians, Caribbean, Afro-Caribbean people, white people that are Hispanic, white people that are not Hispanic, and you have an incredible amount of economic diversity from the $5 million to $17 million houses in Morningside to, 50,000 square foot lots or people living in not great conditions in some other parts of the district west of the highway. And one of the things that always becomes an issue when you're handling that kind of diversity of, especially the economic side, is how do you handle development? Because on one side, if you want to create affordability, you got to develop. You got to build. If you want places for people to live that are affordable, you got to build them. On the other side, especially the wealthier single family communities along Biscayne Bays have tended to be very much anti bringing new density or new intensity or anything that affects the traffic situation in their area, for example. So how do you balance those competing interests in a district like yours?
You do it by listening to the community. That's how you do it. And let me just say that I grew up poor, and through education and hard work, I'm not so poor now. I live on the Upper East Side. I live on the Bay. So I have experienced most of the issues that our entire community has experienced. I understand it. So I am for responsible development, but I understand that you have to listen to the community, and the development has to fit in with the surrounding community. Yes, we have a housing crisis, but there are many ways that we can have affordable housing. There's housing stock now, houses that are in our community that we can rebuild, refurbish, instead of just tearing everything down and building up. But we have to make creative we have to come up with creative solutions to address our housing crisis and have each of the communities in mind, because all of our communities, even on the Upper East Side, we need affordable housing.
Will housing be your number one priority if you're elected, or
Housing will be a priority, but let me say to you that, because I get that question asked all the
sure?
time. What is your number one priority? Depends on where I'm standing, because someone's light that has been out for 6 months is as much a priority for them
Sure.
as is affordable housing. But, housing is an issue, as well as um, gun violence is an issue. Programs and services for our youth and our seniors. My mom and dad, they're 80. And, all they want to do is to remain independent and in their home
Right.
for as long as they possibly can. So there's a
And that's where we're all gonna want, hopefully, when we make it to that age.
exactly. So
Yeah.
there's a plethora of issues that affect our community. And we have to be vigilant and diligent about serving all of the needs of the community. And that's what I want to do. I don't intend to leave any of the communities out.
So I'll ask you about one thing you mentioned, and then you'll get the bonus round question.
Okay.
But this is a hard one as well. Gun violence. We have, especially state of Florida policy, because our state legislature is owned by the NRA. That makes it very difficult for local elected officials to actually handle gun violence, and it's just a difficult problem. I mean, we it's linked to crime, which itself is linked to economic conditions. We saw a drop in crime and gun violence prior to COVID, but with COVID, crime has spiked to a degree. And especially earlier this year, there were a lot of shootings, and there still are. It's not only a District 5 issue.
No, it's not.
We had a shooting yesterday in front of the American Airlines Arena, right?
Mhm.
The probably some of the most expensive condos in the city of Miami
Right.
were witness to it. But realistically, what can you do? Because it's just such a hard issue.
It is. It's very difficult, and there's not one fix to it. But we can certainly invest in our children and provide programs and services that will mentor our children, give them a safe place to be. And we can invest in our police also, because our city of Miami force is very under underemployed. We have our workforce for the police officers. They need additional officers so that we can have community policing. Our police officers are so stretched. They're stretched.
What would
so
you want to
thin.
see our police force? It's like 2,100 right now, something like that, right?
No, it's like 1,200, maybe something like that.
Yes,
they're so busy.
Sorry, dyslexic there a little bit. So
Oh, I
1,200.
am too.
Yeah.
I am too.
So it's like 1,200. Where would you want to see it?
I would want to see the force increased so we can have more policing, community policing, where police officers are involved in our community versus just going from call to call and arresting our community. That's what we need to do. Focus in on that. Focus in on our youth, giving them summer jobs, summer programs, after school programs, mentorship programs, those kinds of things. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. One bite at a time. It's not a problem that we will solve overnight, but we can continue to do what we can. Commissioner Hardiman, he was one of the sponsors for $90 million to go toward gun violence reduction. It's partner up and get some programs out there to make a real difference. Common sense approach to leadership.
Understood. Bonus round question, because this one I'm not sure that the voters are super aware of, but it is something that is going to be important if you get to be elected, because you're going to have to deal with it actually pretty fast, and it will affect the next elections moving forward, which is redistricting. So numbers came out. As expected, the growth in the city of Miami is very much concentrated in just two districts, District 2, which is the waterfront district, and District 5. And realistically, it seems that it's going to be a little hard keeping 5 commissioners to maneuver the lines in order to, for example, prioritize keeping an African-American or Black, not African-American, because really a Black majority seat. So that's an issue, because I do believe, I'm a Democrat, I do believe we should have representation and work to have that, of everyone, that they don't get left out in that way. So what do? Do you create 2 more districts? Do you work to expand the city? How do you solve that issue, or what are you thinking?
Right now, I couldn't answer that because I'd still have to look into it, but I can assure you that it would not be fair if the city of Miami lost an African-American seat to redistricting.
Correct.
Because it would not be representative of what our community looks like. So we would have to do everything that we can to ensure that there is a seat for an African-American representative of city of Miami.
Right. And I don't think the ACLU would allow that either, or as Victoria Mendez, our city attorney, likes to call them, the 4-letter word. But
Right.
that's that. So thank you for coming in. You've been great. And again, the election is November 3rd, correct?
November 2nd. November 2nd.
Thank you. So the election is November 2nd. However, people will start getting their ballots in the mail up to a month earlier.
Absolutely.
So that's
October.
A few weeks from now, folks.
Early October. Yes.
If people want to learn more about you, they can go on your website.
They can go on my website. It's votechristineking.com. And I'd like to say also,
Sure.
in addition to being endorsed by Commissioner Hardiman and Mayor Levine Cava, I'm also endorsed by 32BJ SEIU, the Service International Union.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very proud of that. They are boots on the ground. They have been going door to door with me. And this is, again, a grassroots campaign, and I look forward to serving.
Thank you for coming in, and thank you for running. It's not easy, and you've been doing it for months. You get a tan from it, so that's nice, and you lose a little weight. But other than that, you're putting yourself out there. You're putting your life on the line. It does affect your family, so it's an honorable thing no matter the results, and good luck on the election.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
And that's a wrap. We're going to come back with 2 more candidates for District 5 after this break.